Welcome to this episode of B2B Bites. Today I am joined by Jason Greenwood, a leading expert in the world of B2B e-commerce. He is the founder and lead consultant at Greenwood Consulting, where he helps businesses leverage the power of e-commerce to drive growth and success. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of D2C. It's an incredibly interesting topic. Jason, we are so happy to have you here with us today. We're going to start first of all with this topic of it's slightly different. D2C businesses who are opening up wholesale channels, right? How should they think about it? Why are they doing it? Why is this a hot button topic? So maybe, Jason, set the scene for us. What has evolved over the past couple of years to mean that these D2C darlings are starting to explore this wholesale channel?
Well, I think there's a few things that have it's created an inflection point in the industry, and CNBC just recently released a new report where they analyzed, I think it was 22 D2C brands that went public over the last couple of years, and a huge percentage of them have gone out of business entirely. They've gone bankrupt. A couple of them have been taken back private again because they've performed so poorly. Brands like Allbirds are about ready to run out of cash. They are a famous D2C darling. So the reality is all is not well in D2C land. And now that the free money period is over, ZERP has come to an end, what we're finding is that when these businesses were pursuing growth at all costs and when money was free, everything's wonderful in D2C land. When all of a sudden money now has a cost and all of a sudden now they have to become profitable, a lot of these D2C brands have just found that the structural changes that have happened to the market, combined with the collapse of the online consumer TAM and the return to the mean, meaning that 70 to 80% of retail sales are still happening through physical retail stores. So D2C is doing it tough right now. And just speaking for myself, in terms of my consulting business, I would say close to 50% of the brands that approach me wanting to do B2B e-commerce are D2C brands that are looking to diversify their business, de-risk their business, and grow in new ways, but they don't know how to do it because they've been D2C their whole life. They know D2C inside out. They've got good capabilities around internal digital marketing, but they don't know very much about B2B at all. And so this is a change I'm seeing not only on the ground, but in the news and in financial filings as well.
That was a great introduction. You kind of said there, the D2C brands are looking to diversify their revenue sources, right? So they're looking at wholesale as this new channel that I can diversify my mix of revenue. But as you kind of alluded to, it's not something they're familiar with. So if I'm a D2C brand, what are the first things that I need to be thinking about and considering as I'm moving down this path of creating a wholesale channel? How do I get my products ready? What do I need to be thinking about?
B2B is very much more about operational excellence in many respects than it is marketing excellence. And so in the D2C world, you've got to be a marketing powerhouse. A lot of B2B brands that have historically only ever been B2B brands, they might not even have a marketing team in-house. They might have a sales team, field sales reps, customer service, etc. But oftentimes they don't even have a marketing function within the business, or it's a very small function within the business. And so what a lot of D2C brands are not used to is having to move from selling individual items, 1, 2, 3 items, and shipping them door to door, to switching from that model to shipping cartons, pallets, in containers. And when you're trying to move those types of volumes of products, the way in which you ship products, the carriers that you use, the type of warehousing and 3PL services that you might use, the back office systems in terms of WMSs and other technology, ERP technology and the like, that changes quite dramatically when you're starting to think about cartons, pallets, and containers versus individual items shipped by a local mail carrier, for example. So operationally, the most D2C brands are just simply not operationally ready for B2B scale yet. And these are some of the things that we look at. We also start to look at what does their B2B business model and pricing model need to look like. Are they just simply going to do tiered pricing? Are they going to have, say, maybe 4 tiers of trade pricing based on certain factors such as annual purchase revenue, annual purchase volumes, etc.? Or are we going to do a price list per wholesale customer? Now, secondarily, how are we going to structure that customer data on the B2B side? Because if we've only ever dealt with individual customers on the D2C side, and now we're moving to the B2B world where we're trying to land accounts, not individual customers, our systems, our processes, and our data have to be ready to take on those types of customers. So it's an entire mindset shift within the business in terms of how they go out and they court these B2B customers, all the way through to how do they create a transactional channel for those customers to be able to do business with them.
Oh, there was a lot of goodness there, so much to unpack. Maybe if we start with the logistics piece, right? That is a key element to wholesale selling. I've only ever shipped individual items, and now I have to ship pallets, I have to ship boxes, LTL. Where do we start? My warehouse maybe never have dealt with this before. Where do I start with trying to bring in the right carriers, rearrange my warehouse and my logistics to be able to support this?
Yeah, if a D2C brand today is already working with a 3PL, then they likely kind of are familiar with that model, whereby the 3PL service is typically in the D2C world going to be pulling down orders, not necessarily from an ERP, but maybe directly from your e-commerce platform, fulfilling those orders and then sending shipping updates directly back to your e-commerce platform so that you can then send out the transactional emails to your customers. It's a similar model in the B2B world. However, where they're going to be integrating to and pulling down orders from differs quite significantly, combined with the fact that not all 3PLs are created equal. And certain 3PLs are targeted very much at the D2C world and being able to move those individual parcels and pulling them from the shelf. Not all 3PLs are designed and able to support a carton, pallet, and container shipping model. And not only that, but they oftentimes will be selective. These 3PLs will be selective in terms of the carriers that they work with, depending on the business model and channel that they're having to deliver into. So what I would say is, first of all, if you're already using a 3PL, which many D2C brands are, you need to check with your existing 3PL and see if they can support B2B business scale. If they can't, then you're going to probably have to find a 3PL that already does deal with B2B scale. Secondarily, if you own your own warehouse infrastructure, right, what you may need to do is you may say, well, look, we're going to continue to do D2C ourselves because from a customer experience perspective, we have total control of that end-to-end customer experience on the D2C side of our business. And maybe shipping times, for example, maybe B2B customers aren't quite as sensitive in terms of shipping times. They're ordering well in advance of seasonal requirements, et cetera, et cetera. And so therefore, maybe what we do is when we start dipping our toes in the waters of B2B, maybe we take on a 3PL for the very first time just for the B2B side of our business. And if we do own our own warehouse and we are capable of doing this at scale, then what we're going to start to do is we're going to start to onboard new types of carriers into our business, because bulk carriers, which is who you're usually going to need to integrate with for B2B scale transactions, are very different to the local onesie twosie, flag carriers that we have, USPS, or down in New Zealand, when we talk of New Zealand couriers, et cetera.
So I've got my logistics set up. You mentioned pricing. I have tiered pricing, volume pricing, right? I'm a D2C brand. I'm pretty good at marketing. This feels a little different though. How do I get my name out there? How am I going to find my wholesale sellers? How do I think about that?
Funnily enough, increasingly, B2B buyers are starting their search for suppliers online, similar to how D2C customers are finding their suppliers online. So actually, this is one instance where that D2C capability, that heavy duty marketing firepower actually starts to pay dividends in the B2B space. So when you first start to set up your B2B web shop, many legacy B2B brands, they don't use their e-commerce website as a customer acquisition channel. The new world of B2B merchants actually do. I would say that, the modern way of selling B2B is to make your catalog visible online. Don't make it behind a gated experience. And even if you don't want to allow guest customers to buy through your website, by making your catalog visible so you can at least see the items. Maybe you can't see price and maybe you can't see inventory, but at least if you can see the items, meaning as a guest person visiting your website for the first time, that means Google can see your items as well. Google can index your products just like they would on your D2C website. And then when a B2B customer is looking to source those types of items and they search for it in Google, then they know you carry those items. And at least they can open a dialogue with you when they come and verify that you sell those things when they come to your website.
That's great. That's awesome. So if I'm a D2C brand and I want to go wholesale, I have the tools already. I have the site. I can attract customers through the same channels that I do today, because they're probably searching online. I can use the same site. Obviously, that depends on the platform that you're using and can it support it. I'm going to need specific pricing, maybe based on quantity. I might want to put certain products behind a login. You mentioned there. You don't want everyone being able to purchase. You might want to check they're a business, and then you want to offer up terms, right? Because they're going to be purchasing and paying not on day one, but paying in 30 days, in 60 days, whatever those terms are that have been agreed. That's fantastic. I think a lot of D2C brands, that's exactly how they would want to do this, obviously, once they've got those logistics up and running. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. I know the audience will have gained so much from this discussion, and hopefully, if you are thinking about launching your wholesale channel, reach out to Jason. You can find him on LinkedIn, and he will be able to assist you. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason.